Have a listen to this. Have a listen to this.
Interest rates are higher. I know people don't like that, but you should be welcoming the stronger economy.
And maybe a deal has a point about the machinery of capitalism being oiled with the blood of the worker.
The United States is a country that has always paid all of its bills.
Lannister always pays his debts.
Don't let the bastards get you.
Hello and welcome to Comedian versus Economist. My name's Adam and we're joined as always by my little older brother and real life economist, Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
Yeah, g'day Adam. How you going?
Doing well, thank you. As always, we're looking at charts on the show. If you want to follow along, you'll find them on Facebook and Instagram at CVE Podcast, as well as on the CVE page of the Equity Mates website. That's just a reminder to me, note to self, update the website. But massive show coming up, Thomas. An unregulated crypto betting exchange predicts we'll see a Russia-Ukraine ceasefire this year. Markets seem to respond positively to this very, very dodgy data. Good news, the government wants to wipe your HEX debt. Not actually, just pretend other credit limits and lending criteria apply. Forget work from home. It's time to work from sleep. A new device could turn your reality into dreams. But first, Thomas, my rate prediction of no interest rate cuts for 2025 has fallen over already. How did your guess work out?
Yeah, I mean,
You still in?
To be fair, the RBA did telegraph this one pretty clearly to the people who were paying attention.
Well, in fairness, they've done that in the past, and then shock horror, it hasn't worked out that way. So
It's true. Yeah, but I mean, markets were giving it a 93% probability before Tuesday's meeting. The RBA delivered. It would have been a shock. It would have been a big shock if they didn't cut. And mostly because they'd just be so far behind the global curve then. So, or most other central banks were started cutting 6 or 9 months ago. So, it's a bit of a catch-up cut.
it feels like it felt a bit underwhelming, like a bit of a rip-off. Like
A rip-off. Well, you wanted more?
Well, obviously, yeah. I think we all did. I don't think I'm a criminal for wanting a higher interest rate cut. No, I don't know. It just didn't feel like much. Like after, interest rates have 41x'd from where they were 2 years ago. And now we get 0.25. This feels like walking into a shop that's got a 10% off store-wide sale. And you go buy something for $80 and it's you get it. It's only $72 now. It's okay.
Yeah. I hate the way numbers work too.
All I'm saying is I hope to see more cuts.
I hope to see more. Well, I mean, yes. I mean, you might hope to that. And it's interesting because markets have wound back their expectations for rate cuts this year. So they were looking for 4. Now they're sort of pricing in 3, maybe 2. And that's because the governor came out. Well, there's a statement and a press conference that followed the announcement. The statement was quite bullish, saying there's a lot of risks remain. The governor's statement was also saying, I think markets are being a bit optimistic, looking for 3 more rate cuts. I don't see that happening myself.
Right.
Yeah, so markets have sort of since pared back their expectations for this year.
Why are we not looking at 3 more rate cuts?
Well, it's interesting. So the key thing that the RBA is pointing to is the unemployment rate. So they also adjusted down their forecast for the unemployment rate. They had it getting to 4.5% by the end of the year. Now they've dialed that back to 4.1%. So it's quite a bit of a stronger outlook for the jobs market. And that's what they're saying, unemployment's very low, jobs market's very tight. That creates some risks, which I think is kind of silly in a way. And I think some bond traders are just saying you just don't believe the RBA at all, because the unemployment rate got down to 3.5%. We didn't get a wages breakout at 3.5%. It's not clear to me we're going to get a wages breakout at 4.1%. What's going to change? It's going to give us the wages breakout, which leads to inflation. And that's how a low unemployment rate translates into inflation, which changes the rates outlook, because it goes through wages. But there doesn't really seem to be any transmission through employment into wages. at the moment. So
Right.
I think the RBA is just talking a big game, and I think we'll get three more. We should
you
get
reckon?
3 more. I reckon so. I reckon the data is going to continue to surprise downside. Okay, this is my big call. Inflation data, GDP data continues to surprise to the downside. RBA plays catch up. We get 3 more cuts by the end of the year.
Ooh.
That's my bet. That's my hot take.
Okay. Because I did hear one person, I don't know who it was, they said that it could be inflationary for us to get this rate cut. So because, cost of living crisis, whatever you want to call it, groceries and everything else are going up, that actually getting a rate cut now is not actually a good thing because we've still got inflation, and this will do nothing for inflation. This will keep pushing inflation up. So
was that the RBA governor you were talking to? Sounds a lot like the point she was making.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think it was a representative of the RBA governor on a talking head on a news program.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, that's what she's saying. Like, inflation is forecast to come down into the target band, but it's not there yet. Cutting the rates we're moving from a very restrictive level to a less restrictive level. That's going to put less downward pressure on inflation, and we might not get back to the target band. And inflation, particularly if tariffs in the US and all that sort of stuff create a bit of chaos, then then inflation might lift again.
Right. Okay. So that's no good.
Well, no, that's right. Yeah, but you want inflation back in the target band, but inflation, I think, is on the way there, and I think the economic data is going to keep surprising to the downside. Right. Like, the economy is still almost entirely propped up by the public sector. The market economy is pretty sick. The market economy is begging for rate cuts. Right. So, yeah.
Okay. So still too many jobs. So a simple equation: if you want your mortgage to go down, quit your job.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, Thomas, a lot of talk in the news about the war in Ukraine and Russia, and Donald Trump's come out saying that it was all Ukraine's fault. I mean, it's bizarre.
Calling Zelensky a dictator in his latest post.
Yeah.
Wow. Talk about it.
Feels a lot like victim blaming. A lot like just kind of yeah. Didn't he say something like, well, you started it or something? It's your fault.
Yeah. A little bit, yeah. I think they're blaming Ukraine for it now. I mean, a total shift. I mean, like really just taking the Russian side, which I think has just like shocked everyone. It's like really just got not even like kind of walking it back a little bit, just like totally like going to the polar opposite of America's previous position. Yeah, it's kind of just staggering.
So, what does it mean? What does it mean for the chance of peace?
Well, yeah. So the sports betting site I was talking about, Polybet, they're now looking at a 75% chance of peace deal sometime this year. And
I'm not a big fan of betting sites in general, Thomas, as you know, but polymarket.com seems particularly like loose. This is like I had a quick look. This is like it's got everything you could not want in like sensible financial decision making. It's like crypto. You can buy you can buy a stake in. It's bizarre. So I just caveat that this source of truth is pretty dodge.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the information there is that it has spiked in recent weeks, but also like markets are taking it kind of positively. So flows into European markets are at a 2-year high. After pretty much
I think most central bankers pay close attention to the crypto bros on polymarket.com and what they think about the chances of ceasefire in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. I think that's where they get their that's where they get their info.
Yes, yeah. No, shout out to the crypto bros in the Trump administration. Keep up your great work. Yeah, but the fund managers are taking it as a bullish sign. So they flows into not just into Russia, but into the European stock market. So flows at the highest level in 2 years after pretty much just constant net outflows out of Europe for the past 5 or 6 years.
Right.
Yeah. So big. Yeah, so that's interesting. So the general view in market seems to be that it's a bullish signal. Goldman Sachs have an index that they bundle together all the stocks that they think would do well with a ceasefire, and that's up 13% in the past month.
What kind of stocks are looking?
I think you like energy
to do
stocks. Well? Yeah, energy stocks. If you like, ones with sort of high trade exposures through Ukraine. Probably wheat is probably in there as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't. I did try to look at that basket, but I couldn't see what was in it.
No,
they keep it to themselves.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's good news all around, right? Like, ceasefire is good news in itself because, like, we all want peace. And then, bad news for people investing in, I guess, the, weapons industries.
Yeah. I mean, it depends.
Not a lot of sympathy, to be fair.
No.
Oh no, these missile manufacturers have taken a hit.
Yeah, they'll get some government subsidies or something. That'll be right.
Mm.
Yeah. No, I mean, but also it depends on how you get to peace. Like if it's just the wholesale carving up of Ukraine between Trump and Putin, that's not a great outcome for Ukrainians.
No, that's true.
You would think. Yeah. But the other thing is, it's like for Australia, it's interesting as well because we have a lot of energy exports. A lot of that depends on the global price, which depends, like on what's happening in Ukraine. But the economists at Macro Business, they reckon index of commodity prices, the RBA publishes this index of commodity prices, they reckon that'll fall by 50% if we get a ceasefire in Ukraine.
Wow.
It'll normalize energy prices.
Yeah,
so
right.
it would actually be kind of a negative shock for Australia in an odd way.
Well, I mean, given we have to buy back our own energy on the global market, that's probably good news for us, right? Too, because
yes, far out. Yeah, they've started building an import terminal.
We now get to sell it to ourselves cheaper than.
Yeah.
So
no, it won't happen. Gas cartel's got that stitched up.
When you're getting high on your own supply, it doesn't matter what the cost is, as a friend of mine once said. All right, let's take a break here, grab a word from this week's sponsors, and be back with more Comedian versus Economist right after this. Welcome back. You're on Comedian versus Economist. Thomas, what the hex? What's going on with Hex?
Yeah, so the government, so Treasurer Chalmers has instructed APRA, I think this is through the mechanism, to let the banks exclude HEX debts from their mortgage serviceability calculations. So
they're not wiping away HEX debts. They're just saying they don't count.
They don't count. Yeah.
This is a bit like the RBA that when they choose to look through certain figures and just not count things.
Not count things. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, it's potentially pretty significant. Yeah, because someone crunched the numbers here, saying like if you're on a pre-tax income of 125,000 and you have a average HEX debt, that'll lift your borrowing capacity by 95,000.
Yeah, but it doesn't lift your ability to pay.
No,
by anything. Like, won't this just put people under stress, like mortgage stress? Like the whole reason we have serviceability, surely, is to determine whether or not you're in a position to be able to afford to make your repayments, right? That's why serviceability exists. Yeah. If we just go, well, let's just not count all these debts that you have that would impact your serviceability.
Yeah.
Then
that's right. No, I think the solution there is that you say to the government, let's assume that I don't have this debt and let's move on.
I mean, maybe you get you take out your mortgage, you get your new mortgage that's higher than what you could have got if you didn't have your HEX debt, and then you go and immediately apply for some sort of relief from HEX repayments because of this oversized mortgage you were able to get because the banks no longer counted your HEX debt.
Yeah. No, it is pretty stupid. Yeah, because you're still liable for that. It does impact your ability to pay. You can't just write it off. Like, no one's letting you write off that debt. You've still got to come up with the cash flow each week to meet your mortgage and your debt repayments.
And your HEX, yeah.
And your HEX, yeah, that's right. So, It's a weird one. I think there is a clause which I haven't seen understand saying like if it's expected that they're going to pay it off soon. So,
right. So if you're almost at the end of your HEX debt,
but there wasn't a definition that I saw on that. Like, so I think it sounded like they were giving the banks discretion. It's like, yeah, you're only 3 or 4 years away from finishing your HEX debt, so we're just going to like ignore it. Or something. It's like,
right. This reminds me of the time Anna wore a really big jumper to our meeting with the lending manager from the bank when we went for our home loan because she was pregnant at the time, but she didn't want to. Right. We didn't want to let the bank know that we had 2 incomes, one of which was going to be stopping very soon.
Yes, yeah.
We got through it.
Yeah. You roll the dice.
We got the loan and we got through it.
Yeah.
Had to wash a few nappies, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's an argument saying like that, those serviceability calcs are there to stop people getting into trouble and getting more debt than they should get. So like if there's a problem with that, like change the calcs. Like this sort of excluding a certain bit's a bit funny. And the other thing is, it's like with all affordability measures that increase people's ability to borrow. It doesn't help affordability because all you do is create more competition in those market segments that those people are trying to get into. Yeah. And in a tight property market, that competition just bids up the price and no one's better off. You just have more expensive houses. But that's true of all demand side policies, housing policies.
Yeah, but the banks get to write bigger loans, Thomas.
That's true. Banks win every scenario, actually. Funny how that works.
I saw some stat, like, I can't remember the exact number, but like NAB made like $15 million a day over the last reporting period. They mint it. They mint it. So this is certainly good news for banks.
Good news for banks. Yeah, price positive. Go long banks.
Definitely. Go long banks. So... And once again, not such great news for students. No. All right, Thomas, checking in on this one. This is a device, a lucid dreaming device that's scheduled to launch this year, 2025. This is a bizarre device that claims to enable or facilitate lucid dreaming. What's going on?
Yeah, it's the company called Prophetic. Their Halo. They started as Prophetic and then last year rebranded as Prophetic AI, which is always a sign that there's a quality company there. Apparently something to do with AI, even though it's like literally a physical device. But yeah, they've got a device called a Halo, which is a non-intrusive neurostimulation device. And apparently it like helps you access lucid dreaming states.
Right. Very good. Well, yeah. I mean, if the success of ResMed's devices is anything to go by, then this could be huge.
Yeah.
Obviously still a little way to go in terms of proving that it works and works well, but why are we talking about it?
Oh, I thought it's interesting because the key selling point that the CEO came up with is saying that it can help people work in their sleep, that it can gives people the ultimate sandbox for divergent problem solving. And so that's the angle he's gone with. And it's not just fun to lucid dream, that you can access productivity in your dream and be a better worker or get more done.
What a depressing thought.
It's a dystopian nightmare.
Like this is like there's been a movement to try and minimize like the right to switch off and all that sort of stuff. People are like, I just want to finish work for the day, go home and have a nap. Don't forget to work while you're napping.
Right? Yeah. It'll probably bounce it back to your management. It's like, just see, you didn't really do much lucid dreaming last night. Yeah. I know. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. The thing I think is what this points to, which is interesting, is that like initially, like to an individual, that sounds like it's good. It's like you're trying to get ahead at work. You're trying to like, work your way up the top. You can pull some productivity out of your sleeping hours, and that might get you ahead. But what happens you get this rat race dynamic is if everyone in your organization is lucid dreaming to get stuff done, you now have to lucid dream as well in order to just to keep up.
Just to keep up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we end up exactly where we were, like all the relativities hold. We're now just all having to work in our dreams.
I mean, one of the big criticisms of AI is that it hallucinates. Like, so if you produce a report that was written by AI, some of it might just be completely nonsensical and made up. Can you imagine the quality of the reports coming out of the lucid dreaming space? What is this garbage? Something about an elephant. And what are you?
Yeah. Why is your mother in here?
Oh man, it's gonna be. I don't know. Is it gonna have apps? I wonder. Like, does this any mention of? Because that's what's gonna happen. That's what will happen next. Is people will like put on this lucid dreaming device. They'll go to sleep and they're supposed to be working, but they'll just end up like just scrolling Facebook and Instagram. using the apps they've sideloaded into their lucid dreaming work device. All of a sudden, management will be like, "Hey, we're gonna have to put some firewalls or something in place to stop people using social media apps inside their lucid dreaming space when they should be working."
They should be working. Oh my god.
People start trying to skive off from lucid dreaming work. Oh man, it's a fun world we live in.
Oh no, what a nightmare. But I think this is why, like, you know, the push for the 4-day work week and all of that is actually really important, because the rat race will always eat into your time. Unless there's like a collective decision to sort of, and collectively we just hold the line and go like, nah, we're not, you know, sort of like the 8-hour workday, the 5-day work week, those things were won. Like, they weren't the norm. Like, people had to get together and fight for those and win those. Without that collectively holding the line and saying, yeah, let's not turn our dreams into workspaces. Like, it just bleeds into that, and we don't end up. No individual ends up better off, but we all give up our leisure time and our free time and our sleep time.
Yeah, it's the last bastion of free time that work can claim. I think it's we need the right to stay asleep.
The right to sleep.
The right to sleep. It reminds me. I flew back from London once. I went on a trip to London, and the night before I flew back, I had this really vivid dream that I like woke up, got on the plane, flew home like 15 hours or whatever, and got home. And then I woke up in my bed in London, just going like the day that I had to fly out, just going like, it was just like crushing to be like, I just did this. In my mind, I had just done this whole like 15-hour flight or whatever it was back home, and I had to do it all again in real life. Imagine that's what's going to happen in this lucid dreaming thing. We're just going to all punch out some real high quality work, realize that we didn't have the record function set on our lucid dreaming device, and have to do it all again. All right, that'll do us for this week, I think. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, like and subscribe if you haven't done it already, and better still, leave us a review wherever you get this podcast. But that's it for us for this week. We look forward to talking to you again next week on more Comedian versus Economist. Until then, it is bye for now.
Comedian vs. Economist is a product of Equity Mates Media. All information in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional finance, legal, or tax advice. The hosts of Comedian vs. Economist are not financial professionals and are not aware of your personal financial circumstances. Before making any financial decisions, you should read the product disclosure statement and, if necessary, consult a licensed financial professional. Do not take financial advice from a podcast. For more information, head to the disclaimer page on the Equity Mates website, where you can find ASIC resources and find a registered financial professional near you. In the spirit of reconciliation, Equity Mates Media and the hosts of Comedian V Economist acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people today.